All right, people, what's up? I'm back. Today's Wednesday, and this is going to be another NBA basketball video. Today's episode is going to be the San Antonio Spurs versus Oklahoma City Thunder / Golden State. David Robinson versus Kevin Durant, who is the most skilled big man in the NBA. Yes, I have to do another video of big centers, power forwards, and small forwards because I want to be fair and impartial. I don't want my fans and my critics to be like, he just talking about point guards and shooting guards. What about the small forwards? What about the power forwards? What about the centers? What about the players that come off the bench and make the big shots in the games? So I got to get to everyone in these videos. You know, we might have like maybe 5 more of these videos before the series is concluded. And I promise you I was going to make another Michael Jordan video, and there will be another Michael Jordan video to talk about the second half of his NBA career. And then Michael Jordan will come back in another video when I do the season finale, which is probably going to be the USA basketball dream team versus the dream team that you see today. Like, who's actually really better? Yeah, I got to bring in the Olympics too. So this will probably be a different series than you're used to. So let's get into it. Now, the San Antonio Spurs is a basketball organization that is very diverse, and they believe in principles and values. They have won 5 NBA championships. They have had some of the greatest basketball players of all times on that team. They've had Sam Elliott. They've had Avery Johnson. They've had David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, just to name a few great San Antonio Spurs players. But in this video, we're going to be touching on the career of David Robinson. He doesn't get enough respect and enough credit for his greatest accomplishments in the NBA. You know, the guy stands at 7'1". The guy was 240 pounds, and he was a force of nature on the basketball court. At the center position, he dominated his position like nobody's business. The guy was bigger, stronger, faster, you name it. The guy was a complete basketball player. He could make his free throws. He could block shots. He could slam dunk the basketball. And on an occasion, he could hit the three-pointer. And when he hit the three-pointer, he hit it as if he was a little guard, but he was a big guy hitting three-pointers. And when he was drafted in the NBA in the 1980s, I believe it was either 1988 or 1989, he got drafted in the NBA draft. I'll have to double check them sources, but he did come in the part of the mid 80s, early 1990s, and he was the one who set the run for the San Antonio Spurs. Remember those classic matchups between him and Charles Barkley, the San Antonio Spurs versus the Phoenix Suns? Remember those games? Him going against the Supersonics. You know, Sean Kemp and Gary Payton in the Seattle Supersonics. You know, those matchups. Him taking on, you know, the New York Knicks. But there was one basketball game that stands out to this very day when David Robinson dropped 71 points against the Los Angeles Clippers on April 24th, 1994-1995 NBA season. He scored 71 points. Something that no center before him or no center after him has ever done ever again in professional basketball. I mean, I was a little kid when I saw that game. I mean, I remember coming home from the movie theater. I think at that time I was either watching Time Cop or another movie like it. And I came home, and this was probably the first time my dad didn't go to church. Normally he goes to church, but in this case, he either went to church early or decided I ain't going to church. And I guess his excuse was he was sick. He had a hangover because he didn't go to the post office that Saturday. So he was home for 2 days. And basically he was, you know, in the restroom throwing up. And I got a chance to look onto the TV because I wanted to watch Power Rangers or Ninja Turtles. And the game was on. And what do I see? I see David Robinson at the free throw line. And I wasn't trying to watch the game, but he was at the free throw line a total of 15 to 20 times. And he kept making free throw. And then the rest of those were slam dunks and threes. And I was like, what the hell? I thought the tall guy was supposed to grab all the rebounds and block all the shots and slam dunk. And instead, he was hitting three-pointers. And the game got so interesting that I said, you know what, I can watch the Ninja Turtles and the Power Rangers another time. And all of a sudden, I watched the second quarter. I watched the third quarter. And it seemed like they were trying to get him out of the fourth quarter and let him finish. But he said, nah, coach, I want to finish this game. Got in there and drops and finishes the fourth quarter with 71 points. Now, the Clippers weren't going to even win this basketball game. But for some reason, it just seemed like this was going to be his day to shine like nobody's business. And, of course, this game kind of reminds me of Kobe Bryant's 81-point performance, where this was the reverse. They were on a 5-game or 6-game winning streak, and for whatever reason, I guess he felt the Clippers might end their winning streak, so he just said, I'm going to drop 71 points on you. And he showed in that game that he could shoot three-pointers, that he could score too, that he wasn't just recognized for blocking and slam dunking the ball and getting rebounds. He showed he could hit three-pointers. He showed he could play at a high competitive level. He showed that he could be a shooting guard or a point guard if he was asked to do it. Of course, when we get to the 1992-1993 NBA season, he put up strong numbers. There was other games where he scored 30 points, 40 points. And then in the 1996-1997 NBA season, that's when he would teach Tim Duncan the principles of being a great center in San Antonio. As you do know, this originally was not an NBA basketball team. They were in the ABA. They were a part of the NBA suspension basketball team, and then they took over that, and they ended up in the NBA. And by the time we got to the 1997-1998 NBA season, they would clash with teams like the Phoenix Suns, the Seattle Supersonics, the Dallas Mavericks, the Portland Trailblazers. That, to me, was like the best series they had in the playoffs against Portland. That young Portland team, when Scottie Pippen decided, you know what, I ain't winning no more rings in Chicago, bring my ass to Portland. That was the best series. Out of all the playoff series they've had, I would say that's the best one, them going against Portland. And then finally, the 1999 NBA playoffs, in the first round, they would do away with the Denver Nuggets. Second round, they had a tough matchup against either Memphis or Portland, and in the third round, they dismantled and knocked out the Utah Jazz. I mean, Karl Malone was trying to do something that most players don't do. That's try to go to the NBA Finals 3 years in a row. They knocked Utah out. They didn't even have a chance. And then they advanced to the NBA Finals. Of course, we all know in 1999, that was a NBA lockout that shortened the NBA season. And this is where they won their first NBA championship. He won his first NBA title. Now, he wanted to retire, but Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich at the time talked him out of doing it. And thank God they did, because in the year 2000, we know what happened. They got beat by the Los Angeles Lakers. 2001, they had injuries. Tim Duncan was injured. Davey Robinson was injured. So they didn't have a very good 2001. 2002, they had the best year. They knocked out Sacramento Kings. They did away with the Dallas Mavericks, but they fell victim to the Lakers once again. Shaq and Kobe was just too much. But it was in 2003 that payback was coming. As, again, they would get rid of the Dallas Mavericks. Again, they would get rid of the Phoenix Suns. And the third round, they finally had to take on the Los Angeles Lakers in 2003. San Antonio took out the Lakers. And at this point in time, David Robinson showed that, yeah, he could go up against Shaq. Like, he may have not been as physically opposing as Shaq, but he showed he could go up against the man. And this led them to taking on Jason Kidd and the New Jersey Nets. And Jason Kidd had went back to the NBA Finals for the second time. So he had went back to the Finals 2 years in a row. And all of a sudden, what do we get to? We get to the Spurs winning a championship. And then after we see that David Robinson has won 2 NBA championships. By this time period, he had played like 15 years, either 13 or 14 years of professional basketball. But he was like between the ages of 34 or 35 years old, going on 36. And I think Tim Duncan was trying to talk him into staying for another 2 seasons. And he said, nah, this is as far as I could go. Hold on. Sorry about that, people. Every time I do a video, these morons like to call, and it gets on my nerves. But like I was saying, and we all know what happened in 2004. The Lakers beat the Spurs in 2004. And then in 2005, the Spurs won another championship. So he won 2, and it would have been nice if he would have stayed, but he realized in the twilight of his career that he just wasn't going to be the same player that he was when they won their first championship. So he had enough sense to realize, yeah, it's time to hang it up. I've been out on the court long enough. It's time for Tim Duncan to be the focal point of the Spurs, which Tim Duncan would still come to him for advice, and he would still, on an occasion, still be seen in San Antonio watching his Spurs play. Even long after he retired, he would still be giving all future players advice. In fact, he would even sometimes come to their practices and show the younger guys how they're supposed to play their back to the basket, how they're supposed to get blocks, rebounds, how they're really supposed to make their free throws if you're his size. So he still shows himself as a model citizen for San Antonio. And this is because of his military background. He comes from a military family, and he has no-sense parents who believe in principles and values. And to this day, he instills that in some of these younger players. There is no player like him before. There is another game where he guarded Akeem the Dream Olajuwon. I remember that one, where he went up against him, guarded him for all 3 quarters, but the 4th quarter, he couldn't stop him. And then there's that classic line, I guarded them so well. But that experience taught him a lot, and I believe that might have been the reason why he scored 71 points, to show the world, hey, I tried to stop the guy. I didn't know the guy was going to be like that. And even when they played against the Houston Rockets in 94, which is how they lost, by the way. They lost to the Houston Rockets in the 1994 Western Conference semifinals because they were the only team in the 90s in the West that were good enough to reach the NBA Finals. So this organization has won 5 NBA championships. Probably could have won 6, but we all know what happened, why they didn't win 6, because LeBron's partner, Ray Allen, saved them. And David Robinson was there for that game too, and kind of looked at Tim Duncan with that look like, I taught you better than this. So yeah, that